Welcome to On Second Thought. I'm John Price, and I'm here with our pastor, Jay Hackett, where every week we take a deeper dive into life at Peachtree Corners Baptist Church. Whether we're talking about the latest sermon, upcoming events, or just whatever's on Jay's mind, this is your insider look at our church, our staff, and what makes PCBC your church on the corner. So join our conversation as we help you find community, purpose, and growth. Let's get into it. Hello, and thank you for joining us on Second Thought. Today is a special episode. It's the VBS episode. And so Jay is on vacation. He left with his family this afternoon, and that actually gave us the opportunity to talk with the stars of the show this week. So Susan Rutledge and Mallory Thornton are with us today. And they're going to be telling us about VBS, about summer activities, the fall, that kind of thing. And so I'm excited. I get to ask them some questions, and you get to hear about maybe a world that you don't see that happens every Sunday, Wednesday, and this week, every day. We asked, when would you guys like to film? You know, I know that's a very important. You said, let's do it after the first day of VBS when it's rained and I've been running around.
No better time.
Right.
Yes,
right.
for sure.
Right. No. So we knew that you would be fielding every question all over campus in the morning and during VBS. Officially, it's like 9 o'clock to noon.
8:45.
8:45 to noon. Okay. But things start well before that. A lot of stuff has to be done.
7:30 was our call time.
It was our call time.
Yes.
And we made it.
Okay.
I made it with a mother-in-law and 2 children. So
Impressive. Okay. And this is not something that just started today, though. You guys, how early in the year did you start working on VBS?
About February is usually when we have our first leadership team meeting.
Wow.
So and it really gets cranked up actually before that, because Lifeway puts out literally a year before what
we already know what
next
next year's theme is.
What the theme is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So the wheels can start turning, but as far as getting our leadership team in place to start making tweaks or decisions about the coming VBS, we start in February. Attend a what we call a jumpstart training, a workshop in March, so that we can bring it back and train our volunteers, and that's usually around the first weekend of May.
Now, is that the one where you have the lunch for them?
Yes.
Okay, you present the theme, you kind of show them some of the stuff. Do they?
They get their curriculum.
Okay, so they see what
we have
lessons are
age
gonna be?
levels.
Yep.
So we'll have a preschool leader, a kindergarten leader, a first and second grade leader, a third and fourth grade leader, a fifth grade leader. So they all go and learn about take the curriculum, learn about how they need to come back, and then train all the various 23 K through fifth grade classes plus 4 preschool classes. So in the neighborhood of 25 plus classroom teachers that or classes that we have multiple teachers in that come back and get trained on how to present the curriculum.
Our specials leaders, the craft, snack, music can all go to that training as well.
Right.
Kind of gets the ball rolling. You find ideas, and it's just a good time you feel like you're alone in the planning, but then when you go and you see like other churches ready to, they're already planning too, and the church that it's hosted at has already decorated, and so you're like, ooh, now I kind of feel behind.
Right.
So it's a good time to kind of kick off, and everybody feels like they're coming together as a team, and we're all moving forward. I said this morning, today's kind of like Christmas morning. For us, we've been waiting since February. The anticipation's just been building, so it's always
kind
fun to see how it turns out.
Christmas morning and tax day.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's either going to make it or break it all in one day.
Yeah.
So,
and this was the biggest that we've ever had.
As far before, probably before COVID, we had some that we hit over 500 children registered. But then COVID hit us and we had to try some different things through the COVID era. But to rebound this quickly, 3 years after the pandemic, and we're already back to these numbers. And we were looking at our numbers, 483 children in attendance today and 189 volunteers.
Goodness.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's adults and students.
189 volunteers. And a lot of churches are not doing VBS anymore. When I first came here on staff, I remember hearing that there were a lot of the volunteers were actually at larger churches or churches in the area, but they didn't do them, right?
We actually do pull a lot of volunteers that are not our church members, which is really good because, we do have a lot of really good volunteers that we know are going to be here year after year and helping it serve at our VBS because their church doesn't do it for one reason or another.
And perhaps they grew up and knew the importance of VBS as an evangelistic tool and really wanted to get involved in a church that offered a vacation Bible school. So we certainly, vet all of our volunteers, and we make sure that, we know their backgrounds and everything well, but we do, we are open to having some other volunteers, especially students. Mallory, you want to kind of address, you worked with the students a lot this year, but how students will come out of the woodwork, which is good for Logan and his ministry.
It's great for Logan. It's all, the kids love the student volunteers. There's no one cooler than that student volunteer. And I feel like this year I had so many that I was like, I want them to feel used. I want them to feel like they were needed.
Right.
And so just even giving them a spot in crafts, because as the week goes on, things happen, schedules, better things come up, especially with students. And they're like, well, my friend invited me to, go to the pool or something fun like that, where they're like, I want to serve, but I'm not going to be there. This other thing's more fun.
And it helps that they have friends here as well. So they'll be in groups of 2 or 3.
Absolutely. And they can, we have the break room, which is really great. We have lots of yummy snacks in there.
Popular.
So that's a good draw. But it's just to be able to have the students here and feeling like they're needed and important, and while, pouring into them, pouring into other kids, kind of that overflow of, just feeling the importance of being here and getting plugged in. Just even if it's, high-fiving kids or, and so in the meeting yesterday that I had with them, I just was like, y'all's energy is going to match, the kids are going to match you. So if you're excited about it, the kids are going to be excited. If you're too cool for school, these kids are not going to be impressed by anything.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, just feel like
Give
you are the cool person in the room, because
be a kid.
Yeah.
Good.
Absolutely.
And our adults love, they are very complimentary of the students that are helping them, and it just gives the adults, more people in the classroom that can help implement everything. And then we kind of have a unique schedule a little bit here that we do for our vacation Bible schools. The children arrive at 8:45 and they go immediately to their classrooms. Parents drop off and pick up in the classrooms so that the teachers can meet the parents or whatever guardians or adults are bringing them.
Okay.
So we ask them to come into our church and, meet the teachers of their children. But then they do the pledges, the Christian flag, the American flag, pledge to the Bible, and pray before they all come down to our worship rally, which is our big, kickoff with everybody there. And the kids really get the energy. We start the day off a big way in there for about 35 minutes. Then they all go back to Bible study, because what they hear in the worship rally, we want them to go back to their classrooms and digest, what the theme of the day is, what the story of the day is. And they get more personal interaction, do activities related to the Bible story. And that's only about 35 minutes. Then they start rotations. So they have 3 specials that each child will attend in a day of VBS. They go to crafts, they go to music, and they go to recreation. Of course, most of them enjoy recreation,
Yeah.
but we're they would say that's their favorite part. And then we interject the snack in there, generally after recreation and before they may go into the craft rotation, because they're always hot and need, a quick snack after recreation. But we try to, work it down like clockwork so that it takes Monday for the teachers to really get it down. But by tomorrow, it will be amazing how just much, smoother their flows are going to be. And the kids, they stay so busy and moving from one thing to the other that, they all, very rarely do we ever have a child that will drop out of VBS. It's usually just due to illness or something like that, because we have gotten very, very good feedback from kids and parents about how much they enjoy our Vacation Bible School. And I think that's why it grows so much every year. And I anticipate with Peachtree Corners growing like it is with young families, it's a great introduction, to our church for some of these families that may not be church. And that is one question that we do ask on our registration, is if this family has a church home. You want to talk a little bit about how we follow up?
Yeah. One thing we added to our registration this year was, how can we pray for your child? And I think that just kind of speaks to the kid. The parents may not be thinking about what their kids are going to get from VBS, but I think when you ask a question like that, it's like, wow, they must really care a lot for our kids that they would even care to know that. So we did send, the list out to the teachers ahead of time. We don't usually do that. We kind of just, hey, on Sunday, you'll get the list. Because, of course, there's always, hey, can my child switch classes? And we do like to accommodate that as we can.
Extent.
We want it to be a pleasant experience for them.
Right.
But of course, when you've got 500 kids that want to all switch classes, then it's like, okay, hold on.
I in student ministry, I remember that part of trips, events,
who they want to be with.
Could be a logistical nightmare and frustrating. I never loved that part. And I know that's probably not why you got into doing ministry here at the church.
And part of that, Nate was like, my husband was, he was like, Mallory, you could literally probably put that in AI, put the friend request, just drop it in there, see what it gives you. He was like, I'm sure the AI would give you a class list. And I said, but I love to take the time. I like to read the kids' names, know who's in the classes, know who I'm placing with who. And you feel like you get to know them kind of through that process. And so there's something special about reading each kid's name and placing them with a teacher you think they might, really vibe with, or, the student volunteers. I'll place them in the classes. And, a lot of that is we look at that age gap where we don't want a, sixth grader necessarily with the fifth graders, because there's not enough age gap for them to be like a student helper when they're almost the same age as them. So we'll put, the younger ones with the kindergarten or first graders. But it is fun to kind of look and pair them with, I wonder who, these kids look like they might play baseball and this student volunteer, is into that, and kind of pair them that way so that they're feeling the fun, but also planting the seed. We're able to share these stories, and it can be life-changing for the families.
A lot of these kids y'all already know because of Collide.
Sure, a lot come here to church, or Wednesday nights, Sunday mornings. They may attend, so we do know, and Mallory, having children at our public school, Simpson, in the area, she knows a lot of the kids that go to school there, and, peers of her of her kids. And, and then it's, it really does make it interesting to even help kids form new relationships. That's why we don't have a class full of kids that are in the same class together at school or all go to church at Peachtree Corners. We try to divide the kids up so that they learn. Part of growing up and maturing is learning how to make new friends and forming new relationships. And hopefully when they leave VBS, they've got some new friends they can spend some time with this summer.
This kindergartner this morning was like hiding his name on his name tag. He's like, do you know my name? And I'm like, no. I was like, do you maybe you look like a Charlie. And he was like, no. And so he told me his first name. And I immediately said the last name. And he was like, how did you know that? And I was like, because I put you in that class. Yeah. But it was like once I knew the first name, then I was like, it has to be this child, you know?
Yeah.
And so he was just kind of like, wow. And the student volunteer that was with him was like, how did you know that? That was right. And I was like, I just, I remember.
That's a God thing.
And that is, that's so on brand to who we are as a church, being relational.
Sure.
And so that is cool that even though we are going with a prescribed Lifeway theme, even though, the lessons have been mapped out a year ago, that is not going to be as much of an impact as the fact that somebody knew my name.
Sure.
The fact that, people made me feel like I was missed if I weren't there a day, or they're so glad to see me. And that's huge. And I think that does make such a difference in this feeling like, oh, this could be home if they're not already having a church home. We hear that a lot in Discover classes, is adults saying, well, my kids started coming here and they
or my
love
kids
it.
Go to preschool there.
They
My
wake
kids play
us up.
sports there. And so it made sense for our family. And, the theme being magnified, looking at the bigness of God in the small things. And these kids think, well, I'm just, one of 20 in a classroom. But the more and more that they can see, I am somebody. And, if that teacher thinks that of me, what does, this guy that you're talking about, think of me, which does relate with our Just One Africa, our giving for the week. These water filters for Kenya that we have a team that's going to take and be able to distribute those. So I think that's so cool too, for the kids to see, we care for, the people here at Peachtree Corners, but then there's other people that, across the world that need things that, we take for granted, having clean water, and just, turn on the faucet to brush our teeth or wash our hands. And, these kids literally have to carry their clean water from wherever there's a filter to their house to be able to, have water to brush their teeth or wash their hands or cook dinner.
Yeah. And just across the board, helping kids understand that everybody doesn't live like they do.
Yeah.
And that it's a big world.
Right.
And just helping them grasp, how, things can be different from what, their little world and what their scope is of everything. And I think, that's a big part of children being in a church environment, is helping them understand that, God is present in all. He loves us all. And he wants us to love and care for others just as he loves and cares for us.
Yeah. Well, when I first got on staff, and I was doing the missions element along with discipleship, I was blown away at how missional the church is, but also how big a part of missions played in VBS. Yes. And so I loved that when I was coordinating with you, the priority was, look, we want to do more than just give money. It needs to be something tangible, because we're talking little kids. And so if they can see what the money I'm bringing, it goes to, get Bibles.
Sure.
Or
last year we did chairs for
that's
Costa
right.
Rica.
Yes, yeah.
For the children in Costa Rica.
And I want to say they raised like $5,000. I mean, it was insane.
We set our goal, and in my head
That's a lot of
knowledge of
chairs.
remembering back, it's amazing what these kids, I know, we'll get some adults throwing in some extra money too, but these kids really get passionate.
They get excited
about
it,
raising and money. They'll do lemonade stands. We've had them, do extra chores to earn money because they really want to bring, offering. Of course, we make it a little competitive.
Right.
They have fun.
It doesn't hurt that it's the boys versus the girls.
Yeah.
Or the...
We've got
different
bugs
classes
versus blooms this year.
Yeah.
Okay,
Bugs
I think
versus
last year it
blooms.
was like twists and turns. Or
Yes,
something like
yes.
that.
We've had,
Last year was blue breakers, red rocks.
Okay.
The year before was twists and turns.
Yes.
I think the first year traumatized me. I was on stage.
You wrote off anything else
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah, the first, was it backpacks?
Yes, we've done backpacks. Yep.
And my math on stage, not reliable. And so I think like day 3, I was like, all right, kids, you've raised enough for like 3 backpacks. Or some way off. I mean, they had done much better. But no, and so they get excited about it. They know what it's going for. They get to be a part of it. You make fun a part of that element. And so,
And that's really become the focus of the worship rally this year, I feel like, too. We kind of hunkered down and we were like, all right, why not make that the focus? Well, we've got a team that's going
to Kenya.
Let's get the kids excited about it so that,
Yeah, so that's fantastic. It's kind of one of these weeks where it's all hands on deck. You got youth helping out. You've got parents. You've got
and our
staff.
Our staff. We're very blessed to have a staff that really, really rallies around Vacation Bible School as a church-wide effort. And it's just so nice to know you've got other people there supporting you as from kids ministry, that we know we can ask anything of anybody, from our maintenance staff to a pastor in our church, and they will support us in Vacation Bible School.
And the maintenance staff was important today.
Oh, very much.
You can tell that God is wanting to do something great this week with these kids, because, man, the enemy is attacking.
For sure.
AC not working.
Yeah. Printers not working. Copiers.
Yes. I mean,
a storm coming right at downpour rain, right at pickup time today.
Well, last night the power was out.
Power was out last night.
And
I think it blew out the
something with the sound or something, right? Too.
I don't know if it was sound affected at all. I know that the elevator in the fellowship hall
was affected by the power.
Just like a lot of stuff, which to me means
sure.
Yeah.
All kinds of things.
It's just opportunity.
Well, as we know, we could get all discouraged and whine about the things that aren't perfect, but we serve a God who is perfect.
Yeah.
And we are here to glorify him this week, and we are not going to let the small things bring us down, because there's way too much good that goes on during Vacation Bible School, and just too much we want to accomplish. So we are not going to let Satan hinder us.
And as Susan likes to say, anytime I mess up and I'm like, I really screwed it up, guys, this is what I did. Nobody's perfect.
That's right.
Every time. So
right. Yeah.
I texted them the other night. I was sending out the, assignments for the kids to the parents, and going in planning center, and I forgot to filter. I had filtered one class and forgot to add the filter to send a general email to just that class. And I sent that their kids were in kindergarten B to like 309 registrants. And as soon as I got the email for myself that my kids were in kindergarten B, which I don't have a kindergartner, I was like, this is not right. What happened? So I went back and looked, and I was like, cool.
Yeah.
So I texted them the next day, and I was like, guys, we might have a lot of confused people on Monday morning, and that's on me.
Yeah. That's Monday, though.
But, I think it worked out okay.
It did.
I heard from a child say, I said, how was today? And they said, amazing. So I was like, they have no idea that anything, if anything went wrong, it's keep moving.
Yeah. That's good.
You can't stop and go, oh, man, we really messed that up. It's like, okay, what can we do to fix it? Or what's the Band-Aid for right now? Let's keep going. And so you can't just focus on it. I mean,
so to those of you who are listening, we always like to kind of do action steps, or, kind of a call out to an idea or a point. And that, I think a lot of times people are hesitant to help in a ministry, to help with kids, or I'm not going to be perfect in this. I'm not, what if I mess up? What if and even the leaders deal with that. And so it's this idea of, it's not about whether or not you get it right, especially with kids. If you show up and you care about them, that is
for sure
huge.
I know sometimes adults can feel very intimidated about wanting to volunteer in kids ministry, because they don't feel like they know the Bible well enough, or, they didn't grow up in church, so they don't really know.
Right.
And I have always said, you will learn more teaching a child than you will ever grasp sitting in an adult classroom, in terms of what you do to prepare just pours into you. And just reading through on a kid's level a Bible story.
Yeah.
The simplicity of a Bible story, but the effect it can have on you as an adult.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's really, there's always a good, support basis for, what you're given, to teach. And it just means, we'll make it work for you. Some people can make more commitment to be there on a more regular basis, and others have a different schedule, and maybe they can only help once a month. But there's a place for everybody that is remotely interested in, if they feel that nudge from the Holy Spirit that says, I need to be serving somewhere. There's always needs in kids ministry. We can never have enough people, because we just need a lot of hands and open hearts that want to work with our children.
So some of the stuff is ongoing, recurring. Some of it is event based.
Yes.
Some of it is rotation. So you have people that are helping out with, the kids,
like on a
or the
regular
preschool once a month.
Sure.
Or if so there are opportunities for you to serve. So it might be teaching a lesson, but it might
just be a body in the room. We have Collide on Sunday mornings while worship is happening down in the Collide studio.
K through fifth grade.
Kindergarten through fifth grade. And, some of the volunteers are just there. It's just crowd control, just walking kids to the bathroom or, anything else that would happen on a crazy Sunday. But for the most part, it's so simple and just loving on the kids. And sometimes you get in that rut where you are crowd control, and it feels like, well, all I ever say is stop doing that, or stop jumping up and down, or be quiet, stop talking to your friend. And it does feel like that sometimes. But then, all it takes is that one time that you say to a kid, hey, I'm so glad you're here today. So it is greeting them when they come in, because when you make them feel welcome, then they want to be there, and they don't feel like, well, all that person said to me was to be quiet, So it is so important to greet each one as they come in the room. So sometimes we just have our greeters. We have a rotation of people who do say, hey, I want to, teach the Bible story. And for Collide, the Bible story is the same as the life group hour, but it's just a different way. Collide's kind of the base, just getting the story to them. It's a quick little thing. But then in life group, it's digging in a little deeper and reading, more of the story and talking about it, like the life application with them. How does this apply to me? So, that's every class is different. So you've got kindergarten through fifth grade, and then you've got even the 4s and 3s and the preschool age.
We're currently doing Gospel Project, a Lifeway curriculum, babies through 12th grade. So we coordinate with Logan, and with the goal being our ministries from babies to 12th grade would all be studying the same lesson, so that when all the kids go home, they've kind of got that in common, that, hey, we can all talk about Jesus walking on water today and that miracle. If that was the story today, then they've all experienced that when they were at church that morning. So we're lining up with that. It's a 3-year scope and sequence, and we've gone through 2 of 3 years. So we're almost through that entire scope and sequence. But it's
same scripture, but it's set to the context
of the age appropriate.
Understand, right?
And that's one reason why we have enjoyed Lifeway curriculum, is because it's very good at being age appropriate for the children growing up.
Right.
And if you're experiencing something about every 3 years, you're kind of hearing that story on your level that you are currently.
And that that's something that because I hear adults that maybe aren't in church or they don't go to life group.
Yeah.
And they're like, I did Sunday school. I did that when I was a kid. I know all the stories. Well, yes. And when you hear about, Jonah and the whale, when you're 4,
Sure.
it's a different lesson.
Sure.
Than when you're adult, you take away different things.
Sure.
And so that's something that our adults sometimes miss is
there's still to be learned as an adult.
so much to
There's still
Jesus'
depth
teaching
with some of the basic stories
was appealed to the children and is the most profound teachings, the depths we can continue as adults to get out of.
For sure.
So this episode comes out Thursday morning. So VBS will be almost
done.
You'll be seeing light at the end of the tunnel. You'll be planning out when you're going to finally get some rest. But a lot of what you've talked about already with connecting to preschool and children's ministry still translates and stuff you're going to be doing. But what are some of the activities that are going to be happening the rest of summer and then even into the coming fall?
So we do have Centra Kid Camp coming up in July. It's July 14th through the 18th. And I take current 3rd through 5th graders with me on that. We take about 30 students. And I always
are there still spots?
There are still spots.
Okay.
And there are spots for male chaperones.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find men available because most of the time, they're either working or don't do kids.
Don't have the vacation time. Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
At the same time, it is so important for those. And Centra Kid, it's so important for the kids to see the male and, just having both, that balance. But Centra Kid is such an easy camp to go to because it's all done for you.
Yeah.
And so it's really just being a chaperone. You're not having to lead a group.
Yeah.
They have people that come in and they're doing that. So most of the time the kids are out doing their thing or doing their, rec time. And they go to Bible story with the camp helpers that are there. So it's really just being
there and
being
sleeping
there.
in the
Being
dorm.
present
sleeping in the dorm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
In
not
the
always
dorm.
comfortable, but
Yes.
Right.
we don't put them in a room with any of the kids. They're like in the same area, but not in the same room. So they don't share a room.
Right.
But we always say, if you have to work, if you can work from home, this is a great spot for you too, because you can bring your computer. There's lots of downtime. We've had lots of people come and bring their computers and just do their work from Boiling Springs, North Carolina.
He's done it a couple times. And I think Tom Kearns did it last year.
Jay Hackett has gone to Centra Kids several times when his parents, his children were were involved.
And that's, I at the top of the episode, I said that Jay's on vacation. And Jay showed up this morning.
Oh, yes.
This is the first.
Unplanned.
I think this is the first
we all
VBS
thought he wasn't coming. Yep.
In years.
And he was
maybe
having withdrawal.
ever.
I think he was.
Well, he was, as the kids were coming out, I was just kind of watching him with some of the other guys, and he's high-fiving all the kids.
Oh, yeah.
And, somebody's like, I thought he was on vacation. I was like, this is vacation,
vacation.
for Jay. This energizes him. He loves
exactly
it.
what he needs.
Right. So he's like, okay, now we're going on vacation. I was like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow morning. So, never. I was like, get some time with your family.
I know. I told him I would have let him go on stage, if I knew that he was going to be here. I think that's why he didn't tell us that he was coming.
Yeah.
He
didn't
brings
give us
the energy.
forewarning.
That's for sure. But no, it's already can tell it's going to be a great week. So Centra Kid.
And then we'll start gearing up for the fall for life groups.
We promote in August about the time school is starting. So that's a big curve for us is just getting, our
which volunteers
kids
are
promoted and which volunteers are, staying and what
you find
groups.
That out
Well, people don't, it's kind of like when VBS happens and you have school ends and then they're like, oh yeah, I would like to volunteer for VBS. And you're like, where were you 2 months ago when we were like talking about this?
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, it's not on their radar yet. And,
Sure.
you know, I'm a mom. I get it. We
lot
call it
happening.
Maycember. And
Oh, yeah.
it is. I mean, it is one thing after another. And you feel like you can't catch up until it's done. And then you're like, okay,
The next thing.
what's next?
Yeah.
So it's either you think about it in January or you don't think about it until June 1st.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
Promotion's a big
sometimes
big time
don't
for
find
us.
out who's coming back and not until, you know, July when everybody's back from vacations. And then it's like, oh yeah, you know,
Planning ahead.
Yeah, and
planning
that's,
ahead and
that's
like to be
Sunday
there.
mornings. And you'll have
Sunday
Wednesday
mornings.
nights are kind of different.
Wednesday nights
from
will
semester to
be
semester.
Kids Praise will kick off about mid-August, and that's all of our children 4s through 5th grade will participate in Kids Praise toward a production. And the last several years we've done a Christmas production, and that's sort of been the kickoff for our Christmas season. We have occasionally thrown that and done more of a production in the November timeframe, but it'll definitely be, you know, something they're working toward, a big musical. And
We don't know what it is yet, so this isn't a
it's
reveal.
a surprise. Yes, no reveal yet.
But Tanya Jones does a great
Tanya
job.
Jones leads our Kids Praise.
Yeah.
And that's a whole, you know, different set of volunteers that come on Wednesday nights, very musically driven, that can help with our music and drama.
Okay.
So-
So lots of ways
Yes.
to get connected.
And we love to have, I mean, the more volunteers, you know, the better. Because then you do have those people that might be one Sunday, hey, you know, I can help. I'd like to help one Sunday, but that's all I can give you a month. And
If you're interested, we can make it work.
We'll
for
make
you.
it work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's always great to have a rotation of people. You know, it's consistency is great. And I always say, like, students, you know, the older kids, Logan's, you know, area they need that consistency because they're seeing week after week. But like with elementary age, they're just happy that you're there loving on them. So if they see you once a month, they feel like they see you all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they're not like, hey, where's that guy this week necessarily? You know, if somebody's there loving on them and giving them a snack and
Right.
whatever else those
Right.
teachers might do, they're happy. So, you know, whatever the time, you know, people's time allotment is, we will fill that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let me kind of close it out with the this is kind of a ongoing debate, not just in this church, in every church when it comes to children's ministry, is your pool of people that you draw from, because a lot of times you pull from the senior adults, and the senior adults are like, I did my
Been there, done
time.
that.
Yeah, my kids are grown up. The parents should do it. They're the parents. They made these kids.
Yeah.
And then you have the
And
young.
the parents are the ones that
saying
needing the break.
The parents are
Yes,
like, we need a break, though. Yeah.
Right. Please let the old folks that have, they don't do anything else all the way. And so both is an over exaggeration.
Yeah.
What would you say to that debate, to that argument, to those two camps?
Does God ever tell us to quit serving? No, we're made to serve.
And I
That's
think
how we
it's-
glorify God, is
Yeah.
with our service. And it may not be, on a particular Sunday morning, but service to your church is one of what we would say a requirement of being a member of Peachtree Corners Baptist Church. So I would just say to every adult that's out there, how are you serving your church? It's fine for you to be involved in different ministries outside your church, but how are you serving your church?
So, Mallory, let me ask you, what would you say to a young parent who is like, and we understand as parents, you do want to be around adults some, you want, but in encouraging them to some extent be involved, what would you say to them?
I think there's so much wisdom in both. And I think the beauty of our church is that it is multi-generational. And I think everybody can learn from everybody else. You know, there's so much wisdom in what young parents have because they're living this with them, right? They know what the interests are. They know what makes these kids excited. And so there's the beauty of, they're living it, so they can bring something to the table of like, hey, this would be really fun because we've been listening to this song at home or whatever. But you've got, the older generation too that can bring so much value in getting the Bible out. We lose having the Bible just on our phones. And we've talked about this in our life group too. Just, there's beauty in reading those words and opening the physical Bible and just, pouring into them. And so we tell the kids that, we tell them that with VBS, like those teachers, get the Bible in front of the kids. We have plenty of Bibles all around. Just get it in front of them. They need to know where the story is coming from, that you're not just making it up,
Right.
That story's coming from the Bible.
Yeah.
And so I think, with just the generation that's been through it, they can go, hey, I understand, the young crowd, you've got it, you're living it with them. But, there's also this beauty of, I've seen, where my kids are now, or what I wish I would have done maybe with my kids. And so I think just the wisdom in both.
Yeah.
What everybody can bring to the table.
And I will say, I've particularly in preschool years, children love it when mommy or daddy are in their room. And that's how you can get to know the children that your child is coming to church with.
Right.
And relationships form from there. And you get to know their parents. And then maybe you get invited to their life group. And then your, world just expands from there as far as plugging in to your church.
Yeah. And we want parents involved with life groups too. We're not asking parents to come and only
give up adult time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
If we have enough volunteers, you're only serving either twice a month or
once a month, maybe.
If the volunteers allow for that. So it is like one and both, getting to plug in to your kids, but also getting to plug in to people your age, because there's beauty in that too. And that's one thing that we've been blessed, even as a staff member, that I do, maybe not every Sunday, but there might be Sundays that I'm pulled, to be with kids, or but we serve in Collide every morning, but then we get to go and have, our time with our life group too, with people our age going through the same, struggles and whatever else, we need to mesh on and talk about. So the beauty in being able to do both, I think.
Wow. Well, thank y'all for joining us.
Yeah, it's been
fun.
This is a
we
great
were a little
episode.
nervous, but we made it. Hey, we could talk to John about anything.
It did not come across on camera or audio, but thank y'all. And as you're watching or listening, hopefully maybe God has given you a little insight or an idea where you might plug in, maybe in preschool or children, or maybe in youth or many other areas. We had people working tech today with VBS, and that stuff is part of Collide as well. So lots of need, lots of stuff. But we are excited about all the things that are here for your children at PCBC, all the ministry that's happening. And thank you for all that you do. I mean, this is kids all over campus. I don't know if you guys can hear or not, but there's like a camp. What is it?
Yeah, Sisters on Stage.
Sisters on Stage. Okay, so that's happening in the next room as well.
But I think, John, like the importance of them entrusting us to work with their kids, even if it is just camp because it's free or cheap or whatever. But I think just because when you plug the kids in, it plugs the families in.
Yeah.
And so I think just entrusting us with that responsibility is,
absolutely,
we don't take that lightly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode. Just encourage you, like we always do, to like, share, subscribe if you haven't yet, so that other people can see and learn about PCBC. God is doing some neat stuff here, and we're glad that you're a part of it. So we hope you have a great rest of your day, and God bless.
Well, that's it for this episode of On Second Thought. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend.
If you have a question or thought, drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to find out more about your church on the corner, check us out at pcbchurch.org. We'll be back next week with more, so until then, have a great week and God bless.